She sat in front of the mirror, the bathroom quiet, but for the hum of the overhead light, and the sound of her own uneven breath. The scissors in her hand trembled as if they too understood the weight of the moment. Her long, thick black hair fell past her waist like a river of ink, once admired, now resented. He used to call it his favorite part of her, fingers always tangling through it like he owned it. She would force a smile then, nodding like it was a compliment, like she agreed, but it had never felt like hers. Not really. Tonight, it felt heavier than ever, not just in weight, but in meaning, like each strand held a memory, a rule, a silence she had swallowed. Her eyes, swollen from crying, met her reflection, red-rimmed, hollowed out, breathing shallow. Then came the sound, the crisp metallic snap of the scissors, slicing through the first lock. It fell into the porcelain sink and curled like a dying snake. She stared at it for a second, heart pounding. That sound was louder than any scream she'd ever dared to let out. A rush of something wild, adrenaline, defiance, maybe even freedom, shot through her chest. She didn't wait for the feeling to pass. She raised the scissors again and cut another piece, then another, faster now, Messier. The tears came hard, rolling over her cheeks in silence. But they didn't stop her. Each snip was a rebellion, a tear through the script he'd written for her life. He had always appeared polished in public, soft-voiced, successful, affectionate, the kind of man people praised, envied, but behind closed doors, he was made of cold steel. He monitored her every move, tracked her phone, scrutinized her clothes, her friends, her words. Any hint of resistance was met with calculated silence, manipulation, or accusation so twisted she started to doubt her own mind. She once tried to leave. She'd packed a small bag and made it as far as the front door. He had dropped to his knees then, sobbing, clinging to her legs, swearing he'd change. Therapy, respect, space. He'd promised it all, and she had wanted to believe him. She always did. But instead of change, there came more locks, more shadows. That morning, he had clenched her wrists hard enough to leave a mark, because she'd smiled at the delivery guy. That evening, he had scoffed at women with short hair, calling them ugly, unfeminine. Only women who want to be men do that, he'd spat, as if cutting her hair would somehow erase her worth. And that was it. That was the spark. Now the floor around her was littered with pieces of herself. Black strands, lifeless and scattered like the ruins of something once controlled. But she stood up feeling lighter. The mirror showed someone unfamiliar, eyes wide with fear, but flickering with something fierce underneath. She changed into jeans and a hoodie she hadn't worn in months. Clothes he had banned from her closet because they made her look unattractive. She laced up her sneakers, grabbed a small bag with her ID, some loose bills, and walked out without looking back. She took nothing from their shared life but her name and the fire that had sparked in her chest. The night was cool, the streets hushed, and for the first time in years, she wasn't scared of the dark. In fact, it welcomed her. It wrapped around her like a shield, safer than the light inside their house had ever been. She kept her head down at the bus station, the hood of her sweatshirt pulled low. She didn't want eyes on her. She wanted space. Space to think, to breathe, to exist. The bus rumbled through empty streets and into the next city, while she stared out the window, watching her old life fade with each mile. At a run-down motel the next morning, she looked in the mirror again. The haircut was uneven, jagged, half-wild, but there was something raw and almost beautiful in that reflection. For the first time in years, she smiled, really smiled. She started making calls. Shelters, hotlines, support groups. Her voice trembled, but the women on the other end didn't ask why she stayed or what she did wrong. They only asked what she needed. Weeks passed. She found a job, small, steady. She saved every coin. She got her hair trimmed by a kind stylist who didn't comment on the mess, but looked her in the eye and called her brave. She laughed, awkward and unsure, but for the first time, she kind of believed it. Her phone rang for days, his name lighting up again and again. First angry, then pleading, then silent. She never picked up. She changed her number. She vanished. That was the point. One afternoon, sitting outside her tiny apartment with a chipped coffee mug warm in her hands, she realized something. The haircut hadn't been about beauty. It had been about ownership, about reclaiming what was stolen from her one rule at a time, her body, her voice, her freedom. She didn't escape in a blaze or with a scream. She escaped quietly, with a pair of scissors and a breath of courage. And for her, that was enough.